All right, let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever noticed how liking one wrestling company automatically means you're against another one? You know that energy. If you like WWE, you must hate A. If you like A, you must think WWE fans are brainwashed. If you like indies, you're a hipster. And if you like old wrestling, you just hate fun. Today, we're talking about tribalism in professional wrestling, where it came from, why it exists, and why wrestling fans argue like they're defending a religion instead of a TV show. Because trust me, this didn't start with Twitter. Tribalism in wrestling is basically the idea that my wrestling is right and your wrestling is wrong. It's promotions versus promotions, styles versus styles, eras versus eras, and ultimately fans versus other fans. But here's the key thing a lot of people forget. Wrestling teaches tribalism. It's literally built on picking sides. It's always been baby faces versus heels, us versus them, good versus evil. So of course fans end up doing the same thing in real life. It's baked into the DNA of the business. Let's go back way back before national TV, before WWE, before back when wrestling was run in territories. Every region had its own promotion. You had Texas wrestling, Memphis wrestling, Mid-South, Florida, the Carolinas, and here's the thing. Most fans only saw their local wrestling. That was it. So if a wrestler from another territory showed up, they weren't just a new opponent, they were the enemy. Promoters wanted fans to believe, our guys are tougher. Our champion is the real champion, that other territory is fake. This wasn't just internet arguing, this was business protection. If fans thought someone else was better, they might stop buying tickets to the local show. So tribalism wasn't an accident, it was intentional. It was marketing. Even back then, fans argued about what wrestling should be. Some wanted pure grappling, holds, and a sense of realism what they saw as believable fights. Others wanted big characters, high drama, intense emotion, and wild crowd interaction. Sound familiar? Yeah, that argument has never stopped. Every single generation just rephrases it. You hear things like, that's not real wrestling, or that's just gymnastics, or that's just sports entertainment. Or that's boring. It's the same argument, just a different decade. Then Vince McMahon shows up in the 1980s and basically says, what if wrestling was everywhere? The WWF goes national, the territories die out, and now tribalism isn't regional anymore. It becomes ideological. On one side, you had WWF fans who loved the larger-than-life characters, the spectacle, and the grand stage of WrestleMania. On the other side, you had NUA and later W fans who looked at the WWF and said, that's not wrestling. This is a cartoon. We like real athletes. The promotions didn't hide this rivalry. They leaned right into it, making it part of their identity. And now we hit the big one. The Monday Night Wars. WWF versus W. This is where modern wrestling tribalism is truly born. Fans didn't just watch wrestling anymore. They kept score. They obsessed over the ratings, the head-to-head competition, the wins and losses. If you liked one show, you actively rooted for the other one to fail. When a top star jumped from one company to another, it felt like a personal betrayal or a massive victory. It was validation that your side was the right one. This era taught fans something really dangerous, that wrestling isn't just about enjoyment, it's about winning arguments. Eventually, Duck W dies. The WWF wins the war, but tribalism doesn't disappear. It just mutates. Now the battle lines are drawn differently. It becomes WWE versus the Indies, WWE versus Ring of Honor, WWE versus Japan. It's casual fans versus so-called smart fans. The internet creates a whole new layer of identity-based fandom. People don't just like wrestling. They like the idea of being in the know. They want to feel more educated, to prove they're not like those other fans. And suddenly, just liking wrestling isn't enough. You have to like it the right way. Then a launches and boom, tribalism is back at full volume, louder than ever before. Only now it's amplified by social media. Wrestlers can tweet their thoughts. Executives can clap back at criticism. Journalists become part of the discourse, and the algorithms reward outrage, pushing the most extreme voices to the top. Fans don't just argue about the shows anymore. They argue about ethics, morality, intelligence, and what wrestling should represent. If you like one company, people make assumptions about your politics, your values, even your entire personality. That's a pretty wild leap for a scripted TV show. So why does wrestling tribalism hit so much harder than it does for other forms of entertainment? I think it comes down to a few things. First, wrestling constantly blurs the lines between fiction and reality, which makes it feel more personal. Second, fans invest decades of emotion into these characters and stories. Third, the promotions themselves actively encourage loyalty to their brand. And finally, there's no objective scoreboard. Success in wrestling is completely subjective. There is no single correct answer for what makes wrestling good, and yet fans argue like there is one. But here's the truth. You can like WWE and A, you can enjoy old wrestling and new wrestling, you can appreciate the flippy stuff and the deep storytelling, you can be a fan of the indies and the mainstream. None of that makes you smarter, none of it makes you a better fan. Tribalism isn't passion. It's confusing your personal preference with an objective truth, and wrestling, by its very design, will always be subjective. If you enjoyed this breakdown, go ahead and hit that like button. If you've ever been caught in a wrestling argument you didn't even mean to have, subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments, what era or style of wrestling do you get the most tribal about, even if you try not to? Because let's be honest, we've all been there. Thanks for watching.